Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Type 2 edition. So I am your host, as always, Dr. Jeremy Pettis, and I am joined today by our lovely contestant, Dr. Trish Santos, who is no stranger to TCOID. She's done multiple talks with us here at TCOID. She works with Steve and I at UCSD as an endocrinologist, good friend. Say hi to everybody, Trish.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. So, for those of you who have never seen Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, let me go over a little bit how this game actually works. So there's a series of actually 14 questions that Trish is going to try to answer. And if she gets them all right, she earns up to $1 million. So with each question, it's multiple choice, A, B, C, D. Trish locks in the answer. If she gets it right, she moves on. If she gets it wrong, she's kicked out. But to help her along the way, we actually have 3 different what we call lifelines. So the first is called 50-50, where half of the answers are eliminated to give you a better chance of kind of getting the right one. The second one is Ask the Audience, where Trish can poll our live studio audience here to see if they can help out with what the answer is. And the third one's called Phone a Friend, where Trish can phone a friend that she might have or think that has knowledge on, diabetes to kind of help her out. So I want to be clear, though, that before we go, I've been told that this is absolutely no money will be changing hands. And even though you will be earning $1 million, this is more of a figurative $1 million. So unfortunately, don't expect checks in the mail.
I wish you would have said that before I came and kind of blocked my
Thanks for showing up, Trish. All right, so getting right into it. So the $500 question, or first question here is, the beloved organization TCOID is actually an acronym. What does TCOID stand for? Is it A, taking care of your Jotson, B, traveling with COVID, oh no you didn't, C, throwing Craig out of your duplex, or is it D, taking control of your diabetes?
Wow, okay. I have to say I was a little nervous to start. This is making me feel a little better. I like...
Keep in mind it's a $500 question. They ramp up.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I'm still nervous. Throwing Craig out of your duplex is tempting, but I'm going to go with D, taking control of your diabetes. Final answer.
So you want to lock it in? Final answer?
Lock it in.
Okay, let's see. Here we go. And we'll get the result. That's right! Congrats! You're on the board with 500 somethings that we were just really thankful for that. So taking control of your diabetes, founded, of course, by Dr. Steve Edelman over 25 years ago now. Trish and I have been kind of doing this with him for, 10 years or so now. Fantastic organization. Thank you all for tuning in. So what a great way to kick it off. Get some of the jitters out, and we can move on to the next question. So far, all your lifelines are still intact. You didn't have to tap into that. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next question, which is now worth $1,000. So diabetes mellitus, some people say mellitus, I say mellitus. Diabetes mellitus sounds like such a scary phrase. What does that actually mean anyway? So is it A, in Greek, diabetes means siphon and mellitus means sweet? Is it B, in Latin, diabetes means with you and mellitus means always? Is it C, in Latin, diabetes equals diet and mellitus means without sugar? Or is it D, in Greek, diabetes equals nagging and mellitus equals spouse?
These are awesome. I know the answer to this one. It's A, diabetes means siphon, or, urinating a lot is kind of what that is supposed to represent, and mellitus means sweet. But I really like D, nagging spouse. But I'm gonna have to lock in A, final answer.
Okay, all right, we'll see if this is right. So A, lock it in, Eric, and hold your breath because we will see if that's right. And yes, it is. So this one I was inspired because Trish gave an excellent Grand Rounds presentation about 8 years ago. We went through old stamps that were about diabetes. And there was one that actually had this meaning on it. And yeah, so that's exactly right. So mellitus means siphon or like peeing out, and mellitus means sweet. So meaning sweet sugar. And that's kind of how diabetes was discovered, more or less, that people realized there was sugar in their urine. It was some kind of problem with not processing sugar way before we could actually measure glucose in the blood or urine. Believe it or not, doctors used to taste urine.
Yeah,
and
would have never been a doctor back then.
Yeah, exactly. But it was actually the one thing that actually kind of worked out. Like they would taste it and be like, oh, you have arthritis or cancer, which obviously that was wrong. But in diabetes, it actually like pointed them in the right direction. So Thank God we don't taste urine anymore. Thank God Trish has $1,000. Again, not real money. And let's go on to the next question. This is for $2,000. So now, like, new MacBook or whatever, if you got the actual money. So here's the question. Continuous glucose monitoring, or CGM, has been used by type 1s for over 10 years. Which patients with type 2 diabetes can get it covered, meaning by insurance? So is it A, anybody diagnosed with type 2 diabetes can get a CGM? B, if you've had type 2 diabetes for over 5 years? C, if you need to take insulin with meals? Or D, if you know somebody who knows somebody?
I really appreciate the humor in all of these. So the answer here is C, if you need to take, well, I think the answer is C, if you need to take insulin with meals. And I'll just comment that I hope that this is changing and more people have access to CGM with type 2, because I think it's useful really in anybody with diabetes who can get their hands on one.
Well, before you get overly confident, let's just see if you're right first. So it sounds like C, you're
Final
locking it
answer.
in? Okay,
Yes,
lock it
C.
in, Eric. Everybody there's a hush over the crowd, and we'll see what happens here. Oh, that's absolutely right. Good job, Trish. So yes, so anybody with type 1 diabetes can get them now. We've been using them for a long time. They just have revolutionized diabetes. They can't live without CGM. And we're using it more and more in type 2s, but currently it's for people that need to take insulin with meals. And hopefully, just like you said, soon it'll be maybe with just basal insulin or without insulin at all, or even pre-diabetes, especially as these getting cheaper and kind of more accessible. I mean, they're just so much of a better way to measure glucose.
For sure.
And the other point is, if you are on insulin, make sure you get one, because they're so helpful. You don't have to prick your fingers. You know what your numbers are. They're fantastic. All right, 2,000 big ones in your bank account. Send us your bank information. All right, next question, $3,000 now. So alcohol has been called the cause of and solution to all life's problems. With that in mind, which of these drinks will be the least likely to raise your blood sugar? Is it A, an IPA beer? That's, for people that don't know, that's like a high alcohol beer, basically. Or B, a glass of buttery Chardonnay, which I know that you enjoy from time to time. C, a tequila shot with lime, salt, and 1 fist bump. Or D, a Mai Tai. So least likely to raise your blood sugar.
Okay, well, it's definitely not Mai Tai. I enjoy myself a Mai Tai. Those are nice and sweet. IPA beer, I don't drink too much, but I think that has some carbs in it. I love myself a glass of buttery Chardonnay, which has, I know, fewer carbs, I think, than the other two. But I think it's a tequila shot, assuming that we're not putting any sugar on that, like you said, just with the fist bump. And I don't think the fist bump has carbs.
Yeah, unless you just like, sometimes I have sugar in my hand and I bump and then I release it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with C, tequila shot.
Okay, let's lock it in, Eric. C, tequila shot. And is that answer? That is absolutely right. Yay, Trish. All right, so people are kind of shocked when you hear this sometimes. When it comes to diabetes, actually the most kind of blood sugar conscious thing is hard alcohol, provided that you either drink it straight or you mix it with a low carb mixer, Diet Coke, something sugar free. And then going up the list, like Chardonnay, like any kind of wine is actually pretty good. It's very diabetes friendly. But then when you get into the high alcohol beers and certainly the sugary drinks like Mai Tais, Pina Coladas, they can wreck your blood sugars because there's so many carbs in it. So you can see that all these things are alcohol, but they have very different effects on your blood sugar. We've done a lot of videos on this. Steve and I did our famous alcohol challenge.
Very entertaining. You all should check it out.
Where I literally lost my shirt at some point, still looking for it. And we just did a podcast on alcohol and diabetes. Obviously we have fun with it, but it's such an important topic because alcohol can impair your judgment and it can make diabetes tasks difficult. So you gotta know what you're putting in your body, how many carbs, what the effect of alcohol is, what drinks to kind of choose and avoid. It's such an important topic. But Trish, you nailed it. I know you like a buttery Chardonnay, but I've seen you do some fist bumps in your day
I do
too.
like tequila.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, so $3,000. Next question, $5,000. So this is actually at the level where we now give you a TCOAD mug.
Okay.
So you don't get the $5,000, but you get a mug, and that we will actually give to you. So a new once-weekly medication for diabetes has been shown to dramatically lower A1C and weight. How do you spell this drug?
Oh, I don't even, I know this is going to be hard. Here we go. Okay, let's see it.
Is it A, Mounjaro, B, Mounjaro, C, Mounjaro, or D, Mounjaro?
You know, I prefer the way that Steve says this medication, which is Mounjaro. But anyway, thank you for that, Jeremy. Wow, you really were stoic about the way you said each of those.
Yeah.
I think that it's B, but I would like to use a lifeline.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
And what lifeline do you want to use?
Can I use the 50-50?
So you're gonna use your lifeline 50-50. With that, Eric, please take away 2 of the incorrect answers. Okay, so it looks like, Trish, you're left with A and B, either Mounjaro or Mounjaro.
Okay, I don't think that there's 2 R's, so I'm gonna go with B, Mounjaro. Final answer.
Mounjaro. So, you know, I obviously wrote this question. I still don't know the answer. So let's see if you got it right. Oh, you did. Well, I'm glad you found that difficult, because every time I try to write this, I write it differently. So tell us a little bit about Mounjaro.
Well, as it says here, it's a new once weekly medicine for diabetes. I think at TCOAD, we've been talking about GLP-1s for years now, and really all the benefits of them. They cause a lot of weight loss. They help your blood sugars. They protect your heart significantly. This one is also a GLP-1 plus a GIP medication. And everybody's super excited about it, because the amount of weight loss that was seen in the clinical trials, I think, was up to over 20% of your weight, which is just, I mean, that's like getting bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it really has been a breakthrough drug. It's available now for people with type 2 diabetes. You do have to do a very slow titration, but it's once a week, and you can change it. It takes 6 months to probably get to like the full dose, but people are losing massive amounts of weight. So this has really been a huge breakthrough. So, all right, so we're moving on, but no matter what happens at this point, you got a mug. So you're going home with something.
Okay. That feels good.
Yeah,
that feels
right?
good.
So, and you use one of your lifelines, still 2 of them left. But let's go on to the next question, where things get dramatic. $7,500. So when it comes to the cause of type 2 diabetes, it's really about these 2 things. They are: 1, eating too much and exercising too little; B, insulin resistance and reduced insulin secretion; C, your genes and ethnicity; or D, the car you drive and where you live.
Okay, well, I don't like A, because that is absolutely wrong, and I think people tend to feel like that's what it's about, but it's not. Type 2 diabetes is a genetic disease that has lots of genes associated with it, so C is tempting. But really, the cause is kind of the underlying problem is insulin resistance and reduced insulin secretion. So I think I'm going to go with B.
Okay.
Final answer.
Now, what if you drive a Tesla?
Then that might change my opinion,
Okay.
but I don't. I drive a 2007 car, so it can't be about that.
All right, so let's lock in B. Final answer. And I'm sorry, Trish. That's absolutely right! Yay! So this one is kind of tricky. You know, like, obviously you're absolutely right. You know, your genes plays a huge part in it. You know, it runs strongly in families. But when it comes down to what actually is going wrong, it's these things: insulin resistance and insulin secretion, which can sound like garbly-gook to people. We actually just did a podcast on the science of type 2 diabetes, where we try to kind of break this down and what that really means. Like, what's going on in your body that causes high blood sugars? And once you know that, it can help with, why am I taking these medications? How are they working? How are they keeping me safe and healthy? But actually, it's kind of difficult to describe to people what type 2 diabetes is. I don't know.
For sure. I think and I think I like that you put A as an answer in there, because like I said, I think the most important thing is type 2 diabetes is not your fault, I think. And a lot of people feel that way. And but it really is a disease with these kind of underlying problems, like you mentioned. So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, next category. Getting into dollar amounts where you could buy a 2008 car, like upgrade by a year. So everybody thinks that they should exercise, quote unquote, more. But what is the official recommendation for people with type 2 diabetes? Is it A, more than 60 minutes twice per week; B, 30 minutes per day, 5 days a week. C, every day for at least 5 minutes. Or D, forget about it.
Okay, so all I remember, I don't remember the exact recommendation, but I do remember that it seemed unreasonable for most people. I think exercising most days of the week is pretty hard. I think the answer is B. But why don't I poll the audience just to make sure that that's correct?
So we're gonna ask our studio audience, which now actually looking around, I realize that there's nobody here. It's actually just Eric, our producer. So we can poll Eric if you're still okay with that.
I would have never just wanted to poll Eric.
Well, he's pretty good at this stuff. I mean, he helped me make the questions.
That's true, he has been around for a while.
So we're gonna change it to poll audience to poll Eric.
Okay.
And so let's go ahead and ask Eric.
B?
Eric, you know, I think you've probably seen more TCOYD videos than anyone I know because you film all of them. So you've probably learned more than any patient, and I trust you. I think the answer, I'm gonna go with B, final answer.
Oh, putting a lot of faith in Eric. So let's see if that panned out for you. Locking in B, and that answer is correct.
Thank you,
Yay,
Eric.
Trish and Eric. That's awesome. So maybe you can cut your mug in half and give half to Eric.
Nope, I'm taking my mug.
So yeah, so this actually comes from the diabetes prevention trial, which was a big study that actually Steve was involved in, where they tried to see what kind of amount of exercise could help prevent diabetes, and it's actually just become our standard recommendation. So it's 150 minutes a week. What they usually say is 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week of something to get your heart rate up. That can just be, walking down the street, around the block. But I know you have lots of kind of thoughts about exercise and type 2 and how to help people get into it. Like, what do you tell people?
Usually I just start telling people, even though we have these kind of recommendations out there, I start by saying any movement is good movement. And I think making reasonable goals for exercise, because if you're not going to exercise 150 minutes a week and you say, that's what my goal is, you're just going to feel like a failure and probably quit. So if you have to start with every day for at least 5 minutes, then I think that's a reasonable goal to start, and you can kind of work your way up.
So it goes from C to B. And we've done talks on this too, so Eric can put those up on exercise and type 2 diabetes, that if you want to learn more, check it out. It's something that everybody needs to do. The more that we move, the better we feel, the healthier we are. So, all right, moving along, crushing it so far. Next question is worth $15,000. So SGLT2 inhibitor medications like Farxiga and Jardiance work by making you pee or urinate out sugar. So about how many calories do you lose each day on these medications? Is it A, about 400, B, about 200 calories, C, about 100 calories, or D, about 50 calories per day? What would you say?
Oh gosh, you're killing me with the numbers here. I really want to use a lifeline, but I think I'm going to save it.
Okay.
Because I'm feeling a little nervous that I'm going to need it later. So I know that you lose some calories by peeing out your glucose. Also, these medicines help you kind of break down fat a little bit, and so you lose some calories that way. I'm going to go with 400.
Okay.
But I feel a little nervous about this one.
Let's lock it in.
Okay, I'm locking it in, 400.
Well, we're gonna have to pause the show because unfortunately, you got the answer right! Yeah! So that's absolutely right. So you pee out about 80 to 100 grams of glucose a day, which is about 400 calories. And this really hit me the other day when I did like a spin class for like 45 minutes and I burned like about 400 calories. I'm like, this is like a spin class and a pill, like every day that you're losing, like you're peeing out that much sugar. Blood sugars come down, people lose weight. These are fantastic medications.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you really nailed it. All right, moving on, $25,000. Okay, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer for everybody, but especially for people with diabetes, type 1 and type 2. So reduce your risk, we talk about the ABCDs of diabetes. They are A, alcohol intake, body weight, cholesterol, diabetes care. B, A1C, brain health, cholesterol, depression screening. C, A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol, drugs. D, A1C, be cool, candy avoidance, and dance, AKA TikTok.
Wow, okay, well, D sounds like the most fun, minus the candy avoidance situation. But you know, I've been listening to Steve talk about this, I think, for maybe 15 years or so. So this one I'm more confident with. I'm gonna go with C, A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol, and drugs.
Okay.
Final answer.
Lock it in. That answer is absolutely right. You are totally crushing it. Climbing up, you know, the charts, no problem. So I like this because it's so simple. You know, when people get diagnosed with diabetes, they can feel like, you know, there's so many different things that they have to do, but really just sticking to the ABCDs, getting your A1C less than 7, your blood pressure down 130/80, your cholesterol down, your LDL, and then the drugs is making sure you're on the right diabetes medications. We've already talked about some of them, GLP-1s, SGLT2s. And if you can do these things, and these are all very treatable conditions, you can live a long, healthy, very long and healthy life.
Yeah, and I love that Steve, you know, I think every TCOID conference, Steve brings up the ABCDs, and I love it because I think once you're diagnosed with diabetes, you kind of feel like it's all about the diabetes only.
Right.
And blood pressure and cholesterol are super important for people with diabetes.
And actually a lot easier to treat in a lot of cases, so don't forget about it. And Steve actually did just a talk with Lima Chu called Know Your Numbers for this conference, which is all about this. What cholesterol do you need to be targeting and how? So that's a great lecture to check out for more on this. All right, so moving on. $50,000. Sometimes I sit by myself and think, man, I wish this insulin would act faster. Which one of these is not a rapid-acting insulin? Is it A, Tresiba, B, Afrezza, C, Fiasp, D, Lumjev? These names are crazy.
These names are crazy. I do know the answer to this one. Tresiba is a basal insulin, which is a long-acting insulin. So I'm going to go with A, Tresiba, final answer.
Okay, lock it in. That answer is absolutely right. So good job, Trish. I knew you would get that one. The point of this is there's a lot of new insulins, and if this sounds like alphabet soup to you, learning more about insulin is important. We've done a podcast on insulin. We've done lots of different videos on this. So if you are on insulin, make sure you're on some of these newer ones because there's new basals and new mealtime insulins. So you're killing it. So now we're getting into some of the serious dollars amounts. So $75,000. So there's a craze in Hollywood right now with celebrities clamoring to get their hands on this diabetes medication. Is it A, metformin, B, Lantus, C, Saxenda, or D, Ozempic?
So I actually know the answer to this one too because my patients are suffering because of this craze, and they're calling in all the time because they can't get their medication because everybody, I think, in California and Hollywood is trying to get it. I'm going to go with D, Ozempic, final answer.
All right, let's lock that in. That answer is, once again, absolutely correct. Yay, Trish! Woo! So, you know, obviously there is a shortage, but this is a fantastic medication. And I actually just watched Saturday Night Live last Saturday, and the opening bit they did was on the Oscars, and they said, you know, the Oscars is brought to you by Ozempic, you know, because everybody, like, you know, is on Ozempic. But it's fantastic for blood sugars and for weight loss, and that's a reason why, you know, people are clamoring to get it. All right, you're doing awesome. Next question. Now we're into the big bucks, $150,000, but more importantly, a TCOID shirt that once again you will get with your mug if you answer this question correctly. Right now, mug only.
Okay.
But with this question,
well,
shirt.
I'm not sharing the shirt with Eric either.
Counting carbs is hard. Nobody's good at it. With that in mind, which of these has the lowest amount of carbs?
Oh, okay.
Is it A, a bagel, B, a glazed donut, C, a bowl of Special K, 1.5 cups, or D, 2 bananas?
Yikes.
The lowest amount of carbs.
Okay. I really don't know the answer to this. If I had to guess, I would say a glazed donut. And I'm saying that because I know there's a lot of fat in there too. It's not just carbs. And the rest of these are kind of pure carbs. But I think I might need to phone a friend on this one.
Okay.
So can I phone anybody?
Yeah, just pick up your phone, call somebody.
So I have this friend who knows a lot about diabetes.
Oh, good for him. My phone's ringing. Oh. Hey, Trish.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire right now for TCOYD, and
Sure.
I would love if you could be my phone a friend. I need help
Okay.
with a question.
I'm not doing anything.
All right. So the question is, counting carbs is hard. Nobody's good at it. With that in mind, which of these has the lowest amount of carbs? A bagel, B, a glazed donut, C, a bowl of Special K, about a cup and a half, or D, 2 bananas?
Well, drawing on my diabetes knowledge and also as the host of the show, I would have to say that B, glazed donut, would be the way to go.
Okay, excellent. I knew I called the right person.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
Talk to you later.
Bye. Okay, I'm gonna go with B, glazed donut, final answer.
Okay, let's see if you got some good advice from your friend. B, glazed donut, lock it in. That's absolutely right.
All right.
Yay, Trish and your mysterious friend. So for my notes, a bagel, 48 grams of carbs, donut, 31, Special K, 35, bananas, 54.
Okay.
So a point here is that just because something is healthy, like bananas or bowl Special K, doesn't mean it's necessarily carb friendly. Doesn't mean you should be eating donuts either.
Yeah.
But just sometimes our perceptions can be wrong.
Right.
So
Yeah,
awesome
good question.
job. All right, next question. $250,000. Oh, by the way, congrats on the shirt and mug now.
Thank you.
Steve and Jeremy share many things in common, but not everything. Which of these is not true? A, their favorite ice cream is Rocky Road. B, they got type 1 at the same age. C, they both grew up in California. Or D, they both have beautiful brown eyes.
Okay. Too bad I couldn't phone you for this one.
Yeah,
Should have saved that.
I'm not gonna look at you.
Okay, so I know both of you got type 1 at age 15 and you both grew up in California. So B and C are out. I have no idea what your favorite ice cream is, or Steve's, and I don't know what color your eyes are. So I'm gonna go with, I never hear you guys talking about ice cream, so I'm gonna go with A, their favorite ice cream is Rocky Road.
Okay. let's
Final answer.
Lock that in. And that answer is... Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody loves Rocky Road ice cream under the age of 12. But yeah, we love Rocky Road ice cream. I have
gosh,
brown
I
eyes.
did
I
not
think
know
Steve
that.
has blue eyes. So Steve has beautiful blue eyes. So that's
Okay.
the one thing we have in common. But wait. Oh, I'm getting word from the producers that say that actually, we're going to accept this answer as well, just for unclear reasons. We're going to let you to continue on. All right, so let's go to the next question. We might have to take away the shirt, though. We'll follow up with the producers after the show. Okay, we all want to lose weight. What is a reasonable weight loss goal? A, half a pound to a pound a week. B, 1 to 2 pounds per week. C, 2 to 3 pounds per week. Or D, as much as you can lose before that wedding.
I am gonna go for the lowest amount. It's probably the most reasonable, 0.5 to 1 pound per week. Final answer.
Let's lock it in. And that answer is absolutely correct. Yay, Trish! So this is reasonable, and this is actually a significant amount of weight. Somebody can lose a pound a week. So when people say I want to lose 20 pounds, march out 20 weeks at least. That's 6 months.
Yeah.
A lot of times people say I want to lose 20 pounds by the end of the month. It's just you're setting yourself up for failure. So half a pound to 1 pound a week, weighing yourself every day, first thing in the morning, is the way to go. Awesome job. So I think with that, the next question is actually for $1 million, AKA a TCOID little tattoo that you get wet and then it peels off and it says TCOID.
Worth
So
it.
here we go. Just because. Put these events in order
because.
in which they occurred. A, World War I. Insulin discovered. Man on the moon. A1C test, metformin approved.
Oh gosh.
B, insulin discovered, World War I, metformin approved, man on the moon, A1C test. C, World War I, insulin discovered, man on the moon, metformin approved, A1C test. Or D, metformin approved, World War I, insulin discovered, man on the moon, A1C test.
All right, well, I know metformin was not approved before World War I, so we're gonna get D out of there right away.
Okay.
And I know metformin was not approved before there was a man on the moon. So B and D are out. Now let's look at A and C. World War I, insulin discovered, that sounds right. Man on the moon is next in both, okay. A1C or metformin approved? Gosh. I'm gonna say metformin approved and then A1C test. I'm gonna say C.
Got it.
Final answer.
Okay, we'll lock that answer in. And that answer is... Oh, I'm sorry, you had it right. So metformin was, I had to look this up. It wasn't approved until 1994.
Okay.
Much later. So the A1C test was, in the late 70s, early 80s, but you got everything else right. So no real point of this question other than but since the 90s with metformin, what an explosion of different drugs we've had and all these different things. So with that, you're gonna have to give everything back. The cup and the shirt and no tattoo.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Yeah. But I've really enjoyed doing this with you. You did really awesome. And honestly, I think you got this last question right too. So we'll still give you some stuff.
Thanks.
So thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We'll see you next time.